Hello everyone, welcome to my sewing room. We're going to quilt a quilt today. I've got a quilt, a ruler, and some painter's tape. There's many ways to quilt a quilt, but that's the way we're going to do it today. I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to line up with the 45-degree angle, so I'm going to have diagonal lines going this way, and then later I'm going to add lines going that way. So I take my ruler, I line up the 45-degree angle line, and I begin placing tape along that straight edge. If you don't have a ruler like this, you can use any long, use a yardstick, use any straight edge so you have a straight line, and put tape all the way across the widest part of your quilt. Okay, now we're going to sew our quilt. We're going to first roll this edge over. I'm going to sit at my machine and I'm going to start at the top of that long line. Turn the machine on. Oops, I don't have my walking foot. Here it is, and it tells me to slow down because I tend to go way too fast with this walking foot. The other thing is you need to give yourself a little bit bigger stitch. I know when we're piecing, I had this on the 2, but I like to make it a little bit bigger. I put it on a 3, maybe even a little bigger when I am quilting my quilt with the walking foot. Start at the top. And if you should check the tension on the back and make sure it's okay. You can also do a practice swatch. That's always a good idea. I help it out just a little bit going through because the quilts can get a little big and bulky. That's what you want to do. Just make a straight line all the way through your quilt, smoothing as you go and checking on the back to make sure everything's okay. You've quilted one line. Now, the next thing to do is mark another line. And this painter's tape is so nice because you can reuse it over and over again. So I think I'm going to follow the 3 inches from my seam. And I'm going to put my tape right next to that line. And I'm going to go along every 3 inches. Oops. You can also mark all your lines ahead of time. It would be filled with tape, but this just saves my tape if I do it as I go and reuse the tape. Okay. Here's my quilt. I've quilted lines all the way across I've marked every 3 inches as I went along. I started in the middle. Now I'm going to turn my quilt over and work on this side, starting from the middle again, marking 3 inches, and you can see my tape is a little pieced, but that's okay because I can just eyeball it as I go along. I'm just reusing the same piece of tape, pulling it off and sticking it on every 3 inches. We have all of our diagonal lines quilted in now. You can leave it like this, or you can add lines going the other way and make what's called a cross hatched pattern, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do the same thing again, starting in the center of the quilt diagonally and make some lines and quilt one way, and then I'm going to quilt the other way from that middle line. It's all quilted. There's lines going this way and lines going that way all the way across. A little bit of tape I need to take off. And the last thing before adding binding, we're going to trim all this excess off. Take your ruler, line it up on the edge of the quilt, and trim that off. go all the way around. Here we are. We're going to trim that last little bit off. We're going to stand back and we're going to admire our beautiful quilted quilt. Next time I get together with you, we'll learn how to put binding on this quilt.